Welcome to Crime Clarified, where I tell you who done it and how. In this video, we'll be talking about the 2021 film by Josh Rubin, Werewolves Within. It's a film based on a Ubisoft virtual reality game called Werewolves Within, which is effectively just the classic game of werewolf or mafia or town of Salem, but in virtual reality. I ultimately really enjoyed the campy fun of this film, but I did find that the ending got a bit confused, so I thought I'd make this quick video just to clear things up. There aren't too many characters and they are all very obvious in their stereotypes, so let's go through them quickly. We have Finn Wheeler, a very sweet man who is the new park ranger in this town, and our protagonist, alongside Cecily Moore, who is this cute dream girl postal worker who is also relatively new to town. We have Sam Parker, who is a big businessman who wants to build an oil pipeline throughout the village and is here to convince a few more people to sell their homes. Dr. Jane Ellis, who is a scientist here to prove the dangers of the pipeline. Emerson Flint, a mountain man who is pretty aggressive and doesn't want anyone on his property. Janine Sherman, the owner of the B&B where some of the action takes place, who has a husband, Dave, that everyone thinks ran off with someone else. The Andertons are a Republican couple and lover of pipelines. Trisha loves arts and crafts and wants to open a craft store, and Pete is a massive creep on Cecily. Joachim and Devin Wolfson are a rich gay couple. And finally, Marcus and Gwen are basically the exact opposite of the Wolfsons, and Gwen also owns the only snowplow in town. So I would recommend you give the film a watch because I am about to spoil the culprit. It was Cecily.
No.
Yes, the adorable Milana Vaintrub that I'd been simping on throughout the entire film is the werewolf. It wasn't really unexpected, but you know, it still hurt my heart. Let's see how she did it. So, hungry werewolf Cecily has been going around different towns to consume people. She's a bit of a sadist and likes to get everyone as riled up, causing as much destruction and mistrust as possible throughout her murderous sprees. She decides that this isolated town would be perfect for her to cause some havoc. However, she needs a reason to be there. So she kills Janine's husband Dave and steals his job as the postal worker, storing his body under the B&B. As the postal worker, she then withholds a package from Gwen that she needs to operate the snowplow, ensuring that when the snow hits, they're all gonna be trapped. A month later, when Finn turns up and a blizzard comes in, it's reached the perfect point for her to go on a spree. She knocks out the power by damaging the generators, and everyone holds up in the lodge. She then goes out and kills Trish Anderton's dog, Chachi, just to cause a bit of drama and to keep the collar in order to plant on someone else later. When trying to solve what happened to Chachi, Finn discovers that the power was sabotaged and also finds Dave's body. Now everyone is really freaking out. There was some hair found around Chachi and Dave's bodies, so Dr. Jane Ellis tries to figure out what it is, as the townspeople suspect it might belong to the scary, isolated and very hairy man, Emerson Flint. Cecily and Finn go up to his lodge and find things out, and Cecily plants the collar. She then makes Finn certain that Emerson is the killer, and they get out of there. Everyone locks themselves in the lodge, but that night, having had enough of him trying to touch her and make inappropriate comments, Cecily transforms into a werewolf and bites off Pete's hand.
Some men do this thing when they want to guide you, where they put their hand on your lower back. I hate that.
Good for her.
She manages to escape before Gwen starts shooting at her, so instead, Gwen just shoots Pete and he spends the rest of the film slowly bleeding out. Dr. Ellis finishes the analysis of the hairs and decides that it's a werewolf doing the killing. I'm not sure how she figured that one out, but I guess she knows more about science than I do. She starts absolutely losing it and barricades herself into her room.
Okay, well,
What did her eyeball say?
look, we don't understand. Could you just please come out?
I'm afraid I can't do that, Ranger Wheeler. You could be one of them.
What is she?
One of what?
A lycanthrope.
A what?
Lycanthrope.
A werewolf.
And when Parker, her pipeline nemesis, tries to get in, she kills herself. Or potentially Parker kills her. We never get a definitive on that, but obviously this just increases the distrust and panic. Finn tries to calm everyone down and bring them all together, but ultimately the tensions grow too high, with things coming out like Gwen sleeping with Pete Anderton, and everyone decides to go home. At some point, Cecily has left a knife covered in fuel, looking like it sabotaged the generator, and some newspaper clippings in Finn's room for Sam Parker to find. He brought them back into his room, and then Finn finds them thinking that it is Sam who has been causing all this trouble, to help somehow get his pipeline built. I think that's a bit of a Scooby-Doo idea where he's meant to scare everyone out of town so he can build his pipeline.
That pipeline
is worth a fortune.
And it would have been mine if it hadn't been for those meddling kids.
I don't know. Now things get a bit wild, so bear with me. Outside, Trish, having had her husband lose his hand and her losing her dog, has now lost her marbles. So she kills Devon Wolfson, who's standing in the way of a pipeline being built and her future craft store, with a syrup tap. As Finn and Cecily go with Joaquin to find Devon, they come across Marcus, building a makeshift Wolverine glove and saying he's gonna rob everyone and blame it on the werewolf.
What am I doing? I taped knives to my hand. And then underneath is just my hand, but it's deadly with the knives on it. And I'm gonna steal everybody's shit, and then I wanna make it look like a werewolf did it.
Well, if you end up being the werewolf, that's a big fucking disappointment.
Right?
He then gets accidentally hit by a car driven by getaway driver Gwen. Gwen then gets shot by Trish for sleeping with her husband. She then goes on to threaten Joaquin, Finn and Cecily, but gets distracted by seeing that Pete has finally succumbed to his injuries. Joaquin uses this opportunity to whack her with a fire poker, knocking her head first into an open fireplace where she catches a blaze. Joaquin then threatens Cecily and Finn, thinking that they're the werewolves, but he gets shot with a crossbow by Sam Parker, who has become werewolf obsessed as he is an avid hunter. Finn tries to convince him that there are no werewolves and it's all just their paranoia, but it doesn't work. Thankfully, Joaquin stays alive just long enough to shoot a gas-burning monument Parker has put up in the middle of town, blowing him up. Finn then goes back to Cecily's as he was shot during the altercation, and he goes into a room and discovers all the evidence that it was Cecily behind it all.
You're really a...
Werewolf. Yeah. Werewolves are real. Women who read Walden, well, drinking kombucha and getting turned on by your Yellowstone stories, they're a fantasy.
Throughout the film, she'd been faking her personality to draw Finn in, ultimately hoping to corrupt him and send him crazy as she did the others. But he's just too dang nice.
You're pathological.
And what is my pathology exactly?
You're too fucking nice!
She transforms into a werewolf and goes to kill him, but Mountain Man Emerson turns up and shoots her, moved by an earlier speech Finn gave about friendship. Just as Emerson and Finn have this really nice little moment, Cecily comes back to life. But thankfully, Janine had taken Parker's crossbow and shoots her again, putting an end to this werewolf madness. God, the last half hour really just goes insane.
What?
So I know I said at the start that it was Cecily who was the bad guy, but in all honesty, she only killed one guy, one dog, and one hand. Trish, on the other hand, murdered 2 people, and everyone else seemed to get at least one death in. This is what I mean about the ending being a bit confused. What's the benefit to Cecily to have everyone kill each other and die at once?
You're a monster.
Girls gotta eat. And I got dinner on ice till spring.
Surely it'd be better to kill them yourself slowly over a few months, or whenever you're hungry. Also, she claims to have manipulated everything, but other than a few planted pieces of evidence, I'm pretty sure everyone else was causing their own problems. But however many holes I pick into the story, it doesn't stop it being fun and me being absolutely in love with Milana Vaintrub. Even if she is a psychotic werewolf lady who is just faking her lovable personality, she's still very cute. Thank you so much for watching. This is a very quick video as I procrastinate an absolutely massive project which is taking a lot longer than I thought it would. Hopefully I will see you soon. I hope I cleared up some of the confusion around this film, but god damn it, is it a weird one. I will see you next time. Goodbye!